Xenomorph, also known as Alien, is one of the most famous and terrifying fictional monsters in the history of cinema. Designed by Swiss designer H.R. Giger for Ridley Scott's Alien 1979, this creature not only haunts viewers with its deformed shape, shiny long head, and sharp double jaws, but also makes science fiction scientists shudder because of its terrifying perfect life cycle. From being just a mindless egg to becoming a bloodthirsty predator, Xenomorph has always proven that it is not just a movie monster, but a symbol of evolution in the most cruel way that nature can create. If this species actually existed, humanity would be faced with a parasitic creature with superior adaptability, extremely fast growth rate, and a society centered around an endlessly fertile queen. In science fiction, xenomorphs are often depicted as biological weapons created by an alien civilization. But even if we ignore the fictional element, their life cycle and survival ability are enough to raise the hairs on the back of any biologist's neck. What makes xenomorphs special is that every stage of their life cycle has similarities to real phenomena in nature. In the egg stage, Ovomorph, they are reminiscent of fungal spores or insect eggs, always waiting for external stimuli to activate. When hatched, facehuggers are identical to the mechanism of parasitic wasps of the Ichneumonidae family, clinging to the host, injecting the embryo inside, then dying after completing the task. Chestburster, the larval stage that breaks through the thorax, has similarities to endosporic parasites that eat their host from the inside, such as parasitic wasps that inject eggs into caterpillars. Finally, the social structure that revolves around the queen, the xenomorph queen, immediately reminds us of ants, bees, and termites, insect societies whose survival depends entirely on a single reproductive individual. So what makes the xenomorph called a perfect organism? First, it possesses the ability to parasitize completely. Any organism with a sufficiently robust circulatory system can become a potential host. Second, it has the ability to evolve extremely quickly. From the time a chestburster breaks through the thorax to becoming an adult individual takes only a few hours, a rate of development that on Earth is only matched by bacteria, viruses, or fungi. Third, xenomorphs possess hypercorrosive acidic blood, a defense mechanism that no other species on Earth has. If they are injured, their attackers will be corroded by their own fluids. Finally, they operate on the basis of the hive mind, a swarm mentality connected through the queen, making the entire colony function as one giant organism. From a biological perspective, it can be explained that xenomorphs' acidic blood is the result of a metabolic system based on hyperacidic compounds such as fluorosulfuric or perchloric, which are rare in the biological world. Their ability to navigate without eyes is reminiscent of blind cavefish or sharks with electrosensory organs. Their terrifying growth rate is reminiscent of mold or insect larvae, which can bloom in a matter of hours if given the right environment. The scariest thing is, if you combine these characteristics, you have a creature with no obvious weaknesses. Humans can fight lions because they are big but vulnerable, and they can control parasitic insects because they are weak and small. But xenomorphs combine both extremes, the physical strength of an apex predator with a tenacious parasitic survival strategy. Cinema often exaggerates the horror of xenomorphs, but when we analyze carefully, this perfection can completely exist in biological theory. Earth has produced parasites that turn their hosts into zombies, typically the Cordyceps fungus that controls insects to climb high to spread spores. There have been parasitic wasps that turn caterpillars into living feasts for their larvae. There have been blind fish, electric eels, or even bacteria with monstrous defense mechanisms. Xenomorphs are simply a hypothetical scenario. If all these terrible characteristics converge in a single species, what will happen? The answer is humanity will face an enemy that weapons, technology, or intelligence may not be enough to defeat. Because xenomorphs do not need to win by numbers, but by life cycle, just one egg, one facehugger, one host, the circle of death will repeat endlessly. To understand this cruel perfection, we must begin with the first stage of the xenomorph life cycle, the egg ovomorph. This is the starting point of every hive, the seed of the terrible parasitic cycle. Seemingly mindless and passive, it is from the egg that the entire nightmare is sown. Stage 1, ovomorph. If the xenomorph queen is the collective womb of the hive, then the ovomorph or xenomorph egg is the foundation for the entire parasitic cycle. This is the opening stage, seemingly passive, but in fact a sophisticated biological mechanism containing within it the seeds of an entire parasitic and destructive ecosystem. Xenomorph eggs are usually 1 to 1.5 meters tall, oval in shape, covered with a thick, slimy membrane on the outside. The surface of the egg is gray-brown, shiny black or dark green, depending on the environment and material the queen uses to reproduce. The top of the egg has 4 open wings like fleshy petals, which are tightly closed until there is external stimulation. Inside, a thick, viscous fluid acts as a biological maintenance medium, sustaining the life of the facehugger larvae. This substance is both rich in energy and has extremely high antibacterial and anti-decomposition properties, helping eggs survive for decades without damage. In the movie Aliens 1986, many eggs were discovered to be still alive after many years of being left in harsh environments. The special thing about ovomorphs is their ability to recognize the presence of living creatures around them. Although they do not have a nervous system in the conventional sense, eggs are believed to possess a network of biochemical sensor cells sensitive to CO2 from the animal's breath. Body temperature is around 30 to 40 degrees C, suitable for warm-blooded animals. Low-frequency vibrations from footsteps. When these signals reach the threshold, the biological mechanism inside the egg is activated. The 4 wings at the top of the egg slowly open, the liquid inside bubbles, and the facehugger pops out at an extremely fast speed. Eggs are only born under the control of the xenomorph queen. The queen possesses a special reproductive gland, allowing for the mass production of ovomorphs and the maintenance of the hive. Unlike ants or bees, which have many eggs but a low survival rate, each xenomorph egg will almost certainly produce a complete facehugger. This explains why the hive has such a terrifying replication rate. In some fictional versions, it is also believed that the queen can program genetic information into each egg, adjusting the xenomorph's ability to adapt to a potential host. Thanks to that, if the hive detects an environment with many aquatic animals, the eggs will prioritize hatching variants suitable for the aquatic environment. The most haunting point is biological durability. Many fictional accounts suggest that an ovomorph can remain dormant for hundreds of years while retaining the ability to hatch when it encounters a host. This makes xenomorph eggs similar to bacterial spores on Earth. For example, Bacillus anthrax spores can survive for decades in soil. Xenomorph eggs are also resistant to extreme environments. Low temperatures, facehuggers hibernate, waiting for an opportunity. Lack of oxygen, mucus provides anaerobic energy. Radiation or chemicals, the outer membrane secretes neutralizing enzymes. This makes destroying the eggs a nightmare for any human force. In most alien works, heavy fire or thermonuclear bombs are often the only way to ensure complete elimination of the egg nest. Although fictional, xenomorph eggs have many similarities with nature. German cockroach eggs have a protective Wutheca shell containing many embryos inside and are durable. Fungal spores survive in harsh conditions, germinating as soon as they encounter a suitable environment. Tapeworm eggs are almost invisible in the environment and can survive for months in soil or water. What makes xenomorphs superior is their ability to sense prey, a characteristic that biological eggs on Earth have never had. From an ecological perspective, ovomorphs are the perfect biological weapon. Low energy cost, queens lay eggs which then exist passively, requiring no nurturing. Expansion ability, as long as one egg survives, the hive can re-establish itself. Stealth, eggs are immobile, hard to detect, and blend into dark, humid environments. This explains why in what-if scenarios, a single spaceship carrying a few eggs can cause the entire planet to collapse within weeks. The xenomorph egg is the starting point, but it does not cause direct damage. The real horror begins when the facehugger pops out, latches onto the host, and starts the parasitic cycle. If the ovomorph is a biological ammunition magazine, then the facehugger is a loaded bullet, ready to shoot straight into the life of any unfortunate creature that comes near. Stage 2. Facehugger. This is an intermediate organism with the sole mission to find and parasitize a suitable host to implant the chestburster embryo. Once the facehugger appears, all avoidance becomes hopeless. The facehugger is usually about 1 meter long, including the tail, with a flat and flexible body. 8 long legs like a spider or scorpion, flexible to cling tightly to the host's face. The muscular tail is used to strangle the neck, preventing the host from removing or moving. The mid-abdomen contains the trachea and the chestburster embryo. The parasitic tube is located on the underside, inserted directly into the victim's trachea. The soft, elastic outer skin helps the facehugger move quickly and burrow flexibly. Although soft, the grip of the legs and tail is extremely strong, enough to resist the pulling force of many adults. When the ovomorph opens, the facehugger launches like a spring. It moves at terrifying speed, almost immediately aiming for the host's head. Initial contact, it jumps at the prey's face, 8 legs clamped around the head. Fixation, the tail coils around the neck, forcing the host to not be able to disengage. Parasitism, the parasitic tube enters the trachea, injects anesthetic nutrients, and implants the chestburster embryo into the chest. Life maintenance. During the process, the facehugger simultaneously pumps oxygen and keeps the host alive because the embryo's survival depends on the host's survival. The parasitic period is usually 1 to 6 hours, depending on the host. During this time, the victim is unconscious but still maintains normal biological indicators. Facehugger has a nearly impenetrable defense mechanism. Absolutely clinging, any attempt to pull away will only tighten, even break the host's neck. Scorching secretion. When cut or slashed, it secretes a corrosive acid as strong as the blood of an adult xenomorph. Self-destruction. When the embryo implantation task is completed, facehugger leaves the host, crawls into an open space, and dies shortly after. This disposability makes facehugger the perfect organism. It does not need to live long. It only needs to complete its reproductive function. Hypothetical studies show that facehugger has a huge energy reserve in its body, enough to maintain strong activity for several days even when not parasitizing. Once attached to the host, this energy is completely transferred to implanting the embryo. Double respiratory system. One air tube connects directly to the host's trachea, sustaining life. Another tube transports the chestburster embryo and the enzymes necessary for germination in the chest cavity. This explains why the victim remains alive after being parasitized and why their body becomes a living incubator. Despite being terrifying, facehuggers have many similarities to other species on Earth. Parasitic wasps inject eggs into other insects so that the larvae can eat the host from the inside. Vampire ticks insert their proboscis deep into the host's skin, secrete anesthetics, and suck blood for hours without the host knowing. Leech attaches tightly, secretes enzymes that prevent blood clotting, making the victim unaware of its presence. The difference is, no species can both sustain the host's life and sow the seeds of death at the same time like facehugger. For the host, the invasion of facehugger causes rapid coma due to anesthetic enzymes. Stopping protective reflexes, for example, not vomiting when there is a foreign object in the trachea. Temporary biological stabilization, cardiovascular, respiratory. In fact, the host remembers almost nothing when it wakes up, but this normality is just a biological trap. The embryo has been implanted and only waits a few hours to develop into a chestburster. Facehugger represents the extreme of parasitic evolution. Absolute specialization, lives for only one task, then dies. Biological efficiency, does not waste energy on long-term survival. Maximum adaptation, attaches firmly, protects the embryo, maintains the host's life, ensures the continuation of the life cycle. In other words, the facehugger is a bizarre combination of medical tool and biological weapon. It keeps the host alive while also planting the seeds of death in the body. When the facehugger dies, people often mistakenly think that the danger is over. But in fact, this is only the beginning of the tragedy. Inside the host's body, the embryo is growing rapidly, its bone structure and muscles developing by the minute. A few hours later, it will break through the victim's chest to emerge as the chestburster, the third stage, where the horror reaches its peak. Stage 3 Chestburster. If the facehugger is the seed sower, then the chestburster is the moment the horror breaks out. This is the larval stage of the xenomorph, where the embryo implanted in the host's body reaches its threshold and bursts through the chest cavity to be born. No stage in the species' life cycle demonstrates the cruelty of parasitic evolution like the chestburster. Immediately after the facehugger implants the embryo, the larva begins to develop rapidly. Within hours, it forms a rudimentary spine, allowing the body to bend, a small double jaw with sharp, incomplete teeth, primitive muscles to prepare to break through the chest. During this stage, the embryo gets its nutrition directly from the host's blood and tissues. However, it has an extremely sophisticated mechanism. It does not kill the host immediately. Enzymes secreted by the embryo prevent the host's immune system from reacting, keeping the heart and lungs functioning until it is mature enough to escape. This ensures that the embryo has maximum nutrition in a short period of time. When it reaches a size of about 30 to 40 centimeters, the chestburster begins to act. The pressure from its movements causes ribs to crack, the diaphragm to tear, and the entire chest to burst. The host symptoms before death: severe chest pain, coughing up blood, and generalized convulsions. Burst moment: the scream is often interrupted by the puncture of the lungs and larynx. Result: the host dies in excruciating pain, and the chestburster emerges covered in blood and bodily fluids. This event is both the end of the host and the beginning of a new xenomorph. The chestburster has a snake-like body, about 30 to 40 centimeters long, pink or light brown. Head: long, tapered, not fully developed. Mouth: has small teeth and an inner jaw. Limbs: initially without arms and legs, then gradually emerge as it grows. Skin: thin, slimy, easily injured, but regenerates very quickly. Although weaker than an adult, the chestburster still has a very strong attack instinct if cornered. However, its main instinct during this stage is to flee and hide. The chestburster stage has important evolutionary implications. Ensure maximum nutrition: the embryo feeds while the host is alive, avoiding tissue decomposition. Remove the host. After exiting, the host dies, no longer threatening the young. Optimize speed: it only takes 1 day to create a new xenomorph, a replication rate far exceeding that of any other animal. This makes the chestburster a fast replicating tool, allowing the hive to explode in numbers in an extremely short time. Despite its strong survival instinct, the chestburster is still in a vulnerable state. It is weak, has no hard protective skin, and has not yet developed teeth and claws. If detected early, it can be destroyed. But once it escapes human sight and has time to molt, the chestburster will quickly transform into the juvenile xenomorph, the teenage stage, where its strength and predatory instincts begin to manifest. And from here, the perfect creature officially entered the role of apex predator. Stage 4, juvenile to adult. This is the stage where the body grows at an extraordinary rate. Its hunting power and parasitic instincts are clearly revealed. In the xenomorph life cycle, this is the decisive leap that turns a weak creature into an apex predator. Immediately after emerging from its host, the chestburster begins a continuous molting cycle. Within 24 hours, it can increase size up to 2 meters. This process is driven by super-fast metabolism. Special enzymes allow it to convert surrounding tissues and organic matter into energy for growth. Anabolic capacity: it can absorb proteins from the environment, including from corpses, mucus, or other biological material. Growth hormones: intracellular signaling cascades that promote body growth equivalent to years of normal animal evolution. This speed has led many fictional biologists to compare juvenile to vertebrate bacteria organisms capable of growing hundreds of times in an extremely short time. During maturation, the xenomorph body undergoes major changes. Head elongates, forms a characteristic dome shape. The exoskeleton is as hard as biological steel. Jaw develops a complete double jaw system, allowing for penetrating attacks and eating living tissue. Limbs grow long, flexible arms and legs, allowing them to crawl on any surface, including walls and ceilings. Skin: the epidermis turns shiny black, both camouflages in the dark, and is extremely durable. Tail: long, muscular, pointed like a spear, a lethal weapon and a tool for holding prey. When fully grown, the adult xenomorph is about 2 to 3 meters tall, with a straight posture, firm muscles, and a body that balances strength, speed, and durability. Juveniles, when they are young adults, show 3 main instincts. Concealment: in the early stages, they still avoid direct confrontation, choosing darkness and narrow areas to hide. Test hunting: they initially target weaker prey, testing their ability to attack. Territories marking: they secrete resin on the surface, expanding the initial hive. After a few days, when they reach their maximum size, they become extremely aggressive, ready to confront and take down even the largest predators. An adult xenomorph has superior strength compared to any animal of the same size. Strength: can penetrate thin steel, knock down a human with just a swipe of its tail. Speed: runs faster than a cheetah, reflexes far surpassing humans. Climbing ability, crawl along walls, cling to ceilings, move in air ducts as if there is no gravity. Intelligence, know how to plot, ambush, use the environment to deceive prey. In particular, they do not make any noise when moving, turning their large bodies into an invisible shadow. The most terrifying feature of adult individuals is acid blood. This is a super corrosive solution which can dissolve metal in an instant. Every time Xenomorph is injured, the attacker will pay a heavy price even when shooting or slashing with a knife. The acid blood that is splashed out is enough to destroy weapons and kill people. From a biological perspective, their acid blood may contain fluorosulfuric compounds or perchloric acid, which are many times stronger than common sulfuric acid. The absurdity of nature becomes a strong point in fantasy, turning Xenomorph into an almost invincible creature. The juvenile to adult stage shows a clear evolutionary goal. Quickly reach the state of super predator. Eliminate the prolonged weak stage, reduce the risk of being destroyed. Optimize biological weapons, double jaws, tail, acid blood, exoskeleton. This ensures that once the Xenomorph matures, it can overwhelm any ecosystem. When the number of mature Xenomorphs is large enough, the hive begins to form more complex structures. Among them, some special individuals will develop into praetorians or even queens, the reproductive centers of the entire colony. If juvenile to adult is the individual evolution step, then queen is the collective evolution step, where the hive moves from solitary survival to a complete, tightly organized, and virtually unstoppable society. Stage 5 Queen. In every Xenomorph ecosystem, the queen is always the central individual. If each adult individual is a warrior, the queen is the reproductive factory and at the same time the spiritual leader of the entire hive. From the queen, the entire life cycle is initiated, eggs are born, and survival strategies are shaped. Without the queen, the hive can survive for a while, but sooner or later it will wither. With the queen, the hive can spread and become a parasitic civilization. The queen is clearly different from the adult Xenomorph. Size, 5 to 7 meters tall, body twice as long as a normal individual. Head, bears a large dome-shaped or triangular crest, both for protection and to show power. Body, thick exoskeleton, muscular, sometimes with additional limbs for balance. Abdomen, enlarged during egg laying, connected to a specialized reproductive gland. Double jaws, stronger, longer, enough to tear thin metal. With a massive and majestic appearance, the queen is likened to a goddess of destruction living in the dark. The most outstanding feature of the queen is its unlimited egg-laying ability. An adult queen can produce hundreds of ovomorphs per day if given enough material and energy resources. This process is continuous. The queen attaches herself to a laying chamber where the reproductive gland swells like a giant uterus. From there, the ovomorphs fall to the slimy floor and are moved and arranged by normal Xenomorphs. Compared to nature, the queen acts like a queen bee or queen termite, where the entire colony depends on the reproductive ability of a single individual. Not only is the reproductive center, the queen is also considered the collective neural brain of the hive. Through biological signals, the queen can order the colony to attack or retreat, assign tasks, hunt, protect the nest, build resin, synchronize behavior, make the entire colony coordinate as a single body. This concept is similar to the super body of ants and termites. There, each individual is no longer an independent organism, but a cell in a giant body of which the queen is the center. Despite her weight, the queen is still an extremely dangerous warrior. In most scenarios, when the queen goes directly to the battlefield, that is when the hive puts everything on the line, and also when the enemy faces the ultimate nightmare. In the social structure of the hive, the queen is not only the mother, but also the leader. Strategy decides the direction of the nest development, chooses the location of the main nest. Resource management dictates which hosts to use to maintain the life cycle. Ensuring continuity, if the queen is killed, the hive will go into chaos. If the queen lives, the hive always has a chance to regenerate. This shows that the Xenomorph hive strongly resembles the societies of ants, bees, and termites, but on a more terrifying scale because each individual is an assassin. However, The queen's power lies not only in her ability to lay unlimited eggs. The most terrifying thing is that each egg can adapt to a different host, giving birth to unique variants. This is why xenomorphs are never limited by one ecosystem, but can conquer any planet they set foot on. And to understand this, we need to delve into the hybrid forms, the next stage in the terrible life cycle of this perfect creature. Hybrid forms. One of the characteristics that makes xenomorphs called perfect creatures is their ability to genetically adapt to their hosts. Unlike parasites on Earth, which only choose a specific group of hosts, xenomorphs can use any living organism with a strong enough biological structure as a host. The result is the birth of diverse hybrids, making it almost impossible to deal with them. Human host. When parasitizing humans, xenomorphs create a drone form, also called a warrior in some documents. This is the most common and also the most terrifying variation. Drone is the standard model that most people think of when mentioning xenomorph. Animal host. When parasitizing a four-legged animal, for example a dog or a cow, the xenomorph transforms into the runner form. Superior speed, moves like a predator, extremely fast and flexible. Quadrupedal form allows them to dash, jump, and change direction in a split second. Behavior, more aggressive than drone, less tactical, more about strength and speed. Runner shows that the xenomorph can borrow the physical characteristics of the host and integrate them into the body. Aquatic host. In the case of parasitizing aquatic organisms, large fish, aquatic reptiles, the xenomorph creates the aquatic xenoform. Swimming ability, extremely fast, using the tail as a fin. Double trachea, can breathe both underwater and on land. Skin, thicker, resistant to water pressure. Habits, operate in packs underwater, stalking prey like sharks. This is proof of the almost limitless adaptability from land to aquatic environments xenomorphs can dominate. Exotic host, alien variant. In many fictional scenarios, when xenomorphs parasitize extraterrestrial species, they create unpredictable forms. Xenomorph kaiju parasitize giant creatures size far beyond normal. Winged Xeno, host with wings, creates a variant capable of flying. Armored Xeno, host with thick skin or natural armor, Xeno becomes extremely difficult to destroy. The common point is that there is no genetic limit. The stronger the host, the more terrible the variant. The ability of xenomorphs to mutate poses 3 evolutionary implications. Instant adaptation without the need for thousands of years. After just one generation, Xeno has a form that is suitable for the environment. Artificial biodiversity, the hive can possess many types of warriors at the same time, creating an overwhelming advantage. Strategic inability, enemies cannot prepare because they do not know which variant they will face. Compared to nature, this trait is similar to horizontal gene transfer in bacteria, where new traits can appear after only one exposure. The xenomorph life cycle is a closed, cold, and terrifyingly perfect cycle. Each individual form is haunting enough, but when linked together in a chain, we see a life cycle with no weaknesses. Eggs preserve the species, facehuggers germinate, chestbursters regenerate, adults hunt, queens replicate, hybrids adapt. This cycle can repeat forever until the hive swallows an entire ecosystem. Compared to Earth creatures, xenomorphs are not entirely imaginary. Each of their characteristics has copies in nature: spores, parasitic wasps, Cordyceps fungi, queen ants. What makes us shudder is the combination of all of them in a single creature. So, the question, what if xenomorphs were real, is not just a horror fantasy. It is a reminder that nature is inherently harsh and that humans are just a fragile species in the endless game of evolution. The xenomorph is a symbol of that cruel truth. Evolution does not create beauty, but survival at all costs. And that is the entire life cycle of the most terrifying creature in the universe, Xenomorph. Thank you for accompanying me until the end of the video. Hopefully after watching, you will have a new perspective on Xenomorph and the harsh mechanisms that already exist in nature. If you find this video interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends so that I have more motivation to create more attractive content. See you in the next What If videos.